Thank you.
Are you going to go
All right, everybody, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. Since many of you don't know me, I'm going to take just a moment and tell you a little bit about my background. I have two primary career arcs. One is as a nonprofit executive, and as such, I have an awful lot of experience building budgets based on other people's money, and I understand very clearly the concepts of accountability and transparency when it comes to using taxpayer dollars here in the county. I have also been a business owner. My wife and I have owned two businesses here in Clallam County. The first one was a wholesale and retail plant and produce business, which eventually morphed into the Red Rooster Grocery, which was a small retail grocery in downtown Sequim. We were open for about 5 years, and I'm very proud to say that during that time, our focus was on small independent food producers, and we circulated hundreds of thousands of dollars through the local food economy in the time that we were open. And that experience really opened my eyes to the power and potential of small independent businesses. And I very much believe that the future of job creation in the county, the future of our economy and a vibrant economy depends on a strong business community and a diverse business community. So when I look at our county's economic future, I think we need to place more emphasis on developing and supporting and elevating small business. My other significant priority as commissioner is public participation. We are frequently discouraged in ways large and small from participating in our government, and I think that's a real shame. That ensures that the best ideas are not necessarily coming forward, and we need to find new ways to do that. I look forward to earning your vote today. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you. And now Jim McIntyre.
Most of you know me. The daily newspaper is kind of the diary of the county government, it seems. I won't go into a lot of biographical detail, except to say that for the last 46 years, I've been in leadership positions in the military, U.S. Coast Guard, as a senior civilian executive in the federal government, and then for the last 8 years, almost 8 years, as an elected official here locally, 4 years as a port commissioner, and the last almost 4 years as a county commissioner. And I'm asking for your support and your vote to return me to office, because I think I have a very strong record, one that I'm proud of, and would seek your support to keep that record alive and going. I said 8 years ago when I first was running for the Port Commission, and again 4 years ago, that my main task, the thing that I am most interested in doing, is finding ways to get behind our economy and push just as hard as we can. Things are looking better, but things are not where they need to be at this point. And there have been some things of late that you've seen in the paper where we've actually put legs to that. My fellow commissioners and I have supported the Composites Recycling Technology Center at the port. We have worked together with the city of Sequim for a wastewater treatment system in Carlsberg. And the last thing I want to mention is my election almost 6 months ago, well actually almost a year ago now, to a seat on the Board of Natural Resources, which is a policy board that sets harvest levels on county tax trust lands that are under ownership and management by the state. Revenue is derived from that for our local taxing districts. And thank you. I see the stop sign.
All right. All right. Do we have any questions for our county commissioner candidates?
Certainly there must be.
I know.
Well, I don't really like to compare communities, but since I just came back from the Tri-City area, and it's constantly amazed me that every time I'm there, that place has never quit growing. And though we don't have, I would say, probably the land maps they do, I keep wishing that there was something here that could give us that vibrancy. And so I don't know if you've got anything up your sleeve or something we don't know about.
Anyone care to answer?
Yeah, either or. Yeah.
Thank you for the question. It's really an important question, and I think we need to look at it from a couple of different perspectives. One is, what are the barriers to that happening right now? And I think that they're pretty clear, really. It's very difficult for people to move to the peninsula and find health care. It's very difficult for people to move to the peninsula and find jobs. So, those are some large-scale factors that we need to address in order to improve, and in order to attract people here. But I would also fall back on what I said in my opening statement about working to diversify our economy. And we've been historically a pretty singularly focused county in terms of what drives our economy. Timber will always be an important aspect of the economy of the peninsula, but if we don't start to recognize the importance of the tourism industry, if we don't start to look for new technologies like the composites recycling, like new wood technologies, if we don't look to other potentials that take advantage of our natural resources, of our natural talents, those are the things that we need to do to encourage people to be here and to make it a more vibrant place.
One thing in the immediate past that you may recall is there was a discussion and conversation earlier this year about the Economic Development Council. That is the only countywide organization in existence that where this kind of conversation is conducted. And that's a nonprofit organization, the EDC is, but it's supported both by governments and by the private sector. If we didn't have one, we'd have to invent something like that, because that's the venue, if you would, for the conversation. And sometimes it may be a little bit of a rough conversation. And the idea is to find ways to capitalize on the assets economically that we have as a county. And those are natural resources, a beautiful place to come and visit, drop your money and go back home. A great harbor here in Port Angeles, the historic agricultural piece of the economy around SWIM, but that's not exclusive to SWIM by any means. So the idea is to try to find ways to capitalize on what our strengths are and to minimize or eliminate our weaknesses. And that's where that conversation happens. You got to do that by paying attention to the basics. And my opponent is exactly correct that any economy, and particularly a rural economy, rests on certain fundamentals: good schools, adequate health care, a road network that's in good repair and gets you to where you need to go, both in terms of people and products, so on and so forth. Broadband is the thing that we need to focus on, as far as it's not a missing piece, but it's an incomplete piece. And so that is undertaken by lots of bits and pieces of the private sector organizations and governmental organizations. But it's all got to be done in concert and coordination with each other. The EDC is really a place where that can happen best, in my view. So there's no magic secret sauce here. You just got to make sure everything works together as well as it can, and be open to good ideas about things that might hold some future promise.
More questions? Tammy?
Mark, you didn't mention, the name of the nonprofit you're working with. I think it has to do with food, if I'm correct. And if I am correct, then I know that you have really turned things around at that place and done some things in conjunction with other nonprofits to pull area groups together, which has made a huge difference. So my question is, how would you describe your leadership skill, your leadership styles?
Okay.
Thank you for the question. For the last 2.5 years, it didn't take me long to learn that every other county in the state has a food bank coalition where the food banks and meal programs work together and leverage resources and share experiences. And Clallam County, as is the case with many industries and many segments of our economy, we don't have a history of cross-communication like that. We don't have a history of working together. And I feel it really doesn't matter what the issue is. In my professional life right now, it happens to be food and helping food insecure people, which, by the way, 1 in 4, probably closer to 1 in 3 residents of the county had to use a food bank last year. And that's a pretty significant number. So the problem we're dealing with is broad. But when we pull everybody who's working at the same problem together around the table and start communicating, then suddenly a huge amount of creativity flows from that. And just as a quick example of how that works, how that has worked with our food bank coalition, the food banks in the eastern part of the county, Sequim and Port Angeles, have access to a lot more resource than the food banks in the western part of the county because we have grocery stores. It's as simple as that. We have a lot of farms around Sequim. All of the food banks from Forks on out have a huge need for more food, more fresh produce, but when no communication exists, there was nothing they could do about it. And we have since put together this network that allows for food to make it from where it's plentiful to where it needs to be, and residents across the county are being served much more frequently, and their needs are being met much more regularly. And I think that that's an example that we can repeat over and over again.
Jim, can you tell us about your leadership style?
I approach elected office in very much the same way as I approached the profession, or the 2 professions that I was in previous. Number one, you're a servant. Your job is to serve the needs of the people that elected you, or the people, or the person, or the branch, or the department that commissioned you and gave you employment. And so there's a lot of creativity in servanthood. There's a process that goes with that, but there's a result that goes with that as well. The 2 go together. If you get stuck in process, you're not going to achieve results, but process is necessary to get you to a good decision, which is a good result. So that's the lessons from being a senior staff person, a career person, a military officer, translate very well, I think, into elected office, where you have to listen to people, you have to persuade other people to your particular point of view if you think you have a good idea, and you have to be open to be persuaded by others who may have a better idea than you. And so that is the story, I think, of my last 8 years. It requires an awful lot of fortitude, determination, and openness. And so that's kind of the way I describe my management style, if you would.
Thank you. Okay, so we need to move on to our city council at this point. So thank you. Yes, thank you, gentlemen. And we'll have some time for our closing statement at the very end. So position 5, I have Michael Meredith and Marilee Smith. Would you like to join me up here? Okay, and this morning, which one of you spoke first?
I did.
Okay. So, I get to talk to Mary Lee first. So you have 2 minutes for an opening statement, then we'll take a couple of questions.
Perfect. I'm actually getting tired of talking. My name is Mary Lee Smith. I'm not native to the area. I was born in Berkeley, California, raised in Reno, Nevada, and Tehran, Iran. And then I went to high school in Alameda, California. So I moved up here 20 years ago. Most of my family wonders why. Clearly I'm in love with the area. And I have owned a business in Port Angeles. I had Spicer's Deli for a while, and that was an interesting experience. I'm a writer now. I've been a bunch of things in the past. I was in law enforcement, just starting out of college. I was an ambulance attendant at 18, which I don't do. I've produced comedy shows. I've worked for a bank. I've done a lot of different things, but now I've been a writer for 30 years. I've done about 12 books in my name or my husband's name, and then I've ghostwritten a number of books. I just finished a cookbook, which is 575 pages on eggs. So if you need any egg recipes, I'm the person. Meanwhile, my strong point is I do research. I love to read. I love to do research. I like to find out why and I ferret out information. I also like fun, and I like to laugh, and I like to have fun. And what I think town is really missing is having festivals, parades, and to get a real community going. And you know how you do that is by getting people out of their houses. So that is kind of where I'm coming from. And since I only have another second or two, I'll stop here.
Michael Meredith, pretty much lifetime resident in Clallam County. Here today, just want to add a little diversity to the city council, some new ideas. I drive a self-loading log truck for Brook & Brook. I do not own the business, but I know what it's like to keep everybody going. If I don't give it 100%, I don't commit to these folks don't get paid. That's how they get paid, is when their logs get to the mill. So they don't feed their families. Same thing with city council. Everything I do, I give 100%. And I'm there, and we're going to make the city a little better place to live than what it is. I want to encourage folks to get out and get to know your neighbors and get to know who they are and step up to the plate. Don't be afraid of your neighbors. And we need to have some town hall meetings. That goes for not just the city side, but the county side as well. And bring the government to the people. The folks often feel ignored at city council meetings. You got to go up there, you got to make your comment period, and then you don't really get feedback. And I'd like an area where we could have feedback, and we could have not just city council, but police and fire and other areas, or the economic development council. I'd like to see some core businesses come to town to support some smaller businesses and see us grow and see us get the harbor cleaned up and get our parks cleaned up. It's great now that we have an airline coming in, and let's give them something great to look at, deal with Lincoln Park, and deal with the fluoride issue, get that out of the way. It's kind of like the dead horse we keep beating at City Hall, and we need to get this dealt with, get the advisory vote, and get moving forward. Thank you.
Do you have questions? Oh, come on, somebody. Oh, Danielle.
I'm just curious. I think one of the areas where we're lacking in this community is things for the youth. When we have the Japanese students come over for jujitsu, you could take them bowling. That's what you could do with them. So do you have any ideas on what you'd like to see brought to the community, or keep them away from the drugs?
I'll let you start here.
We don't have enough for the youth at all. I mean, there's a couple of things. I have questions all the time, like how come when we put in the promenade or Esplanade or whatever it's called. We didn't add things for the children to do, like, you know, why not a couple of skateboard ramps, and why not like a little creek that kids could float boats in, or, you know, whatever. I'd like to see a BMX bike area next to the skateboard things. So I guess there's a conflict between those guys. I would like to see, and this will get brought up again, I'm sure, something like the boiler room in Fort Townsend, where kids have somewhere to go learn a skill and not feel like there's just nowhere for them, that it's not welcoming. I also would like to see the city do probably a public-private partnership to bring back the after-school program. I think there's a lot more creative ways that we can focus on. I would also really like to see us come up with a hacker camp so we can start teaching kids how to do programming, because that would be a real key thing for our community, since we've got great fiber optic cable. And right now, hacking, and it's not really hacking, it's learning how to program and code. It's kind of like learning how to type when I was in school. It's really a necessity, and it's the only way to bring software companies here is if we have a pool of talent. And kids love it. So I think there's a lot we can do.
Kids need to have something to look forward to. There are a lot of programs out there for kids, but these kids cost money. These programs cost money. There's swim clubs out there, there's baseball, there's football. All these things cost money, and not a lot of parents have that extra money. And maybe adding some support to those programs. Some of those programs do have kind of a scholarship type program where they'll waive the fee. But we also, those kids need some kind of hope, something to look forward to, something to know that they can go to keep them out of trouble. We need to start with education in our schools, getting kids aware of real life, not fantasy life. And there's a real drug life out there, and it exists, and we need to start bringing some of this to the schools, some, in my opinion, shock programs. And some of these folks to step up and that have gone through this, and you know, that's what you get when you're done. Also, we do need some partnership programs, you know, with the YMCA. Also, they help out quite a bit, but it's finding somebody to step up and do that, and somebody willing, or a group willing to find an area. The Skills Center, I often wonder if it's used to its maximum capacity of what it could be for. And it's on the bus line. It is in an area that kids could get to, and it's in an area where there are quite a few kids mulling around. And just kids to know, you know, there's jobs out there. And I have a 17-year-old at home looking around for a job. Jobs are not as easy to find for teenagers as they were when I was a teenager. They were pretty plentiful, and now kids start getting into trouble at that age, instead of putting it towards something useful, saving for education or cars or things they'd like to do. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and we'll move on to our final pairing. We have Sherry Kidd and Dan Batum. And if you'd like to come up, since Sherry spoke first this morning, we will have Dan speak first. You have 2 minutes. Yeah.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you, Sherry, especially. Many of you do not know me. I've lived in the community since 1999. I've had ties with the peninsula since the 70s. Family out here. However, I was gone for 20 years in the Army serving my country. Those 20 years taught me to lead, to get things done, and to realize that failure is never an option. Since '99, I've lived in this community, raising a family. One of the things I do appreciate about the Soroptimist is I still remember my stepson in high school. Soroptimist picked him to receive a special award. It was a really proud day for himself, and Mom and I are still proud of him too. It had a positive influence. He's now grown and has a 9-month-old child of his own. Thank you for the influence. When you're working with the other communities and people in this city, such as our young folks. Thank you. The reason I'm running is for a few years I sort of sat on the sidelines a little bit. I was busy, although I'm still busy working as a volunteer with about 8 organizations. I'm on the homelessness task force for the county, board of directors for Voices for Vets. I'm a housing specialist with the Veterans Resource Center. In the last 4 years, I was busy. I helped 273 veteran households, 2/3 of which were literally homeless, chronically so, most of them right here in Port Angeles. I've been involved with networking, pulling together resources to solve major issues for people. I know how to get people involved, get them motivated, working together. This is how we get things done, working with our neighbors. Communications, doing the hard work, keeping a positive attitude, knowing that we can get things done. The City Hall, I've noticed that we've had some communications issues there. There's a disconnect between there and the people. Looks like I'm out of time. I'll be happy to respond if anybody has questions. Thank you.
Thank you. It's just a pleasure to be here and address my fellow Soroptimists. I love Port Angeles, I love serving it, and I love being a Soroptimist because we truly are here to help our community, and that's, to me, the most fulfilling thing of all and the most rewarding thing of all. When you do something and you see it makes a difference in your community. We love it here, and we're all striving to make it a better place for all of us to live and to work. I have served on the City Council as a council member and as your mayor, and I've worked hard, and I've accomplished some good things, and I'm very proud of that. Our new waterfront, I think, is just such a dynamic addition to our downtown and to our city, and it was important, but it took I guess, just the experience, the inside of a local girl when I had the opportunity as chair of the PA Forward to start a whole new vision and whole new mission for that committee. And my whole life I'd heard, why don't we fix up our waterfront? And so it resonated with me, why don't we fix up our waterfront? Our international corridor, we are an international host city. And there's multiple reasons why we've done this, but it's amazing to me that it started with a conversation, then an AIA grant, and then we had public input, and then we had drawings, and then we had choices, and now we have our new waterfront. But that's a commitment, and I didn't quit, and I followed through. So I'm here to make a difference, and I'm working hard because I love what I do, or I wouldn't be here. So I want to thank you for what you do and for the encouragement and support that you've given me through the years so I can continue to represent Port Angeles as best I can. Thank you so much.
Okay, questions? Yes, Liz.
I'd like to ask the candidates what they see as the biggest challenge for the city of Port Angeles and what they're capable of doing to help solve that problem.
Who would like to go first?
There's many challenges. In fact, there's new challenges all the time. But I've found that unfunded mandates have been particularly difficult because this is where we have the Department of Ecology coming to us and saying, you will do this, you will do this, it's going to cost X amount or an unlimited amount. And I've actually had to, we have a $42 million CSO system that was put out for years. We have to separate our sewer from our water, but you take a town with 8,000 utility payers and you say we have to do this huge project, and if we're not, we're going to be fined up to $10,000 a day. So we're working on our CSO, we're working through that, but then they come up with another one and another one and another one, and I said, stop. Whoa, no, I'm not going to tax my people anymore. You don't understand what we have, the landfill, we have the CSO, now we have the harbor study. And I just won't keep going back to the taxpayers. Do you know the Social Security this next year, 2016, is 0 increase? I will not keep going. So I said no. And then they said, well, you know, we could put in for a $4 million grant. We have another $400,000 grant. They didn't mention that before I said no. So I fought. We had to put a CSO fee on your utility bill to pay for the harbor study, and I fought to get that off the bill. So when you have challenges, you have to have someone with a backbone to not only work with DOE, because we have to work with them, but you have to negotiate. And I'm here. I don't represent Department of Ecology. I represent the people of Port Angeles. I take that seriously, and I do my job. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. As Sherry said, we do have many problems. High unemployment, lack of hope for our young people. I could go on and on. I'm sure you know what the list is. Where I see it kind of comes together, to me, is kind of an extremely big problem, is the disconnect, the sense of community, the networking, working together with the different groups like yours, revitalize downtown, EDC, Serenity House, all the different groups, there's so many. Trying to do little pieces here and there, but there's a disconnect. There's also a disconnect with local government. So many people have a sense of apathy, thinking, can't fight City Hall, or City Hall isn't listening. I've been advocating for some time that we need more openness there. We need access. People's voices need to be heard. City Council should lead, but not as dictating, well, this is what I think needs to be done. They should be listening to what do the people want. We have smart people in this city, people that are working hard, trying to get things done. Leaders in our local government, City Council, at the county level, they should be listening to the people here. We know what we need, and we should be leading to help pull all these things together, because this will help solve the unemployment, the housing issues, the education issues, the tax rate, the utility bills that 30% of people in the city need help this winter, just as in the last few years. We can pull together with the community. We can get these problems solved and make this a home that we all can all be proud of. And when tourists come in, they'll want to come back. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we've got just enough time left for each candidate to do a 1-minute closing statement, and we'll start where we started at the beginning. So if I could get Mark and Jim. I've known you for years, and I'm drawing a blank. Would you like to go first, Jim?
Once again, thank you very much for the invitation, and thanks for the very good questions. It's always a delight to be quick with an answer and try to be well considered while you're being quick as well. What you've seen, I think, over the last 4 years is somebody who has made a few promises, the ones that I thought I could keep, and then a very diligent effort to keep those promises. As I said before, my main emphasis has been for the last 8 years to try to find ways to get behind our local economy and push just as hard as we can. I'm still concerned at the continued decrease in the number of people that are working or seeking work. Those numbers still continue to deteriorate. That requires focus and effort for the future. I do think I have a good record in that respect, and I ask for your support and for your vote so that I can return to this office and continue that effort over the next 4 years. Thanks.
And again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here today, and this is a really fantastic group to wrap up our forum and debate season. When I think about leadership in any place, certainly in the county, what I think about is not so much any specific issue, but the concept of values. And our county citizens have elevated a certain number of values that they expect our leaders to uphold. They are concepts like collaboration, cooperation, accountability, partnership, customer service. And I would ask all of you to consider whether you think our county government is doing a good job of upholding and finding ways to turn those values into reality. I believe that's one of the most important jobs of a leader, that that transcends any particular issue. As an experienced nonprofit executive, that's the way I think, and that's the challenge of leadership, is turning values into reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Clallam. Okay, and Michael and Marilee. In 1 minute closing.
Closing. Okay, well, what do I have? What do I want to close with? You know, I'm not a politician in any way. I tend to be the typical middle-aged woman who says whatever I feel like. I've lost all my filters. I'm honest, I'm open. I love doing research. I like asking questions. Those are my strong points. They're my bad points too, but they're my strong points. You know, I want to find creative ways to fix the things that I find are frustrating in this town, and I'd like to bring community together. And I think the way you build community is by having fun together. So, and I'm exhausted from all this speaking. I can't think of another thing. Whatever. On to my candidate. The other.
Thank you for having us here today. Ask for your vote today simply based on, I'll give it 100%. And I've seen things come and go in this city. I remember things as a kid. I remember the way things were, the way things are now. And we need to build this city into something great. And it's on its way, and it's moving in the right direction. But folks need to have some hope and some dreams. Everybody needs to sit down and have a picture in their mind of what they want the city to look like and what they want it to be. And they need to bring that to the city council, and they need to bring that to forums and to town hall meetings and get your point and get your ideas across. You never know what may be the next great idea. And whether that's in business or in government, it's important that everybody's listening and everybody in the city is listening, all the way through down to the bottom of the workers to the top of the workers.
Michael. And finally, Dan and Sherry.
Thank you for this opportunity to share thoughts on what is important for this city. I'm not a practiced politician. I don't claim to have all the answers. I do have leadership skills developed in 20 years in the military. I've been involved with the community, helping those most in need and most vulnerable. I care very much about my neighbors. I do not want to sit on the sidelines and watch what's happening. The last few years, there's been a few good things that have happened. We need more. Some of the things that have happened kind of been in fits and starts and failed. Some folks keep trying, but we still need more. We really need the sense of community pulled together. We need leadership at City Hall that can listen to the smart people here. Like I said a moment ago, we need to pull together for the better of all of ourselves and our neighbors. For those that are most vulnerable, but for grace of God, there go I. The economy's been tough. Yes, we need jobs. We need improvements in our schools. The young people need hope. We all need to feel like this is a safe community. I'm one that would lead at 100% my ability. Again, I don't have all the answers, but I know how to listen. I know how to bring people together for networking. My time's up, so thank you very much.
And finally, Sherry.
I have the knowledge, I do the work, and you know who I am. You've seen what I've done. You know how hard I work and where my heart is. And you trust me and you can depend on me, and I thank you for your support. And as your president-elect, I set up the program today, and I had planned for there to be 4 chairs because Mr. Batum had notified the press in August that he had quit. And so he decided a few days ago, he notified the press that he had, once again is a candidate. I have a different style. When I make a commitment, then I stick to it. That's leadership. When I'm in charge of a project, I finish it. That's leadership. When I tell you I'm going to do something, I do it. That's leadership. And it's also the kind of values I have when I live my life. I love Port Angeles. I'm here to serve Port Angeles, and I thank you for your vote and your support.
Thank you. I'm sorry I had to cut everybody short, but we do have a short meeting here. I'm sure the candidates are all available for questions as we're finished with our meeting. All right. Well, are there any other club business announcements that anybody has? All right. I am looking forward to next week's meeting and our Elegant Gourmet kickoff. I'm excited to hear our new song, and they've kept me in the dark.